Okay, guys, welcome to Basic today. I'm sure you guys know by now, Keishla is going to start doing the intermediate and advanced, and I'm going to be doing Basic again. So last couple days we posted a couple videos about circles. I posted some stuff about circles. Melody did too, and there's a couple things I want to focus on. So the formulas are up here. We'll get back to these in a second. But I do want to talk about. I think Melody or I did. We posted circles, and for example, like if you see a dot in the center of a circle and there's an I, that be considered the circle. Be considered circle I because that's the center of the circle. So if whatever letter you see next to that point right in the middle, that's going to be, if they ask you to identify the circle, it'd be referred to as circle I. Okay, and it could be any letter, but that's something you want to keep in mind. And then the next couple things I'm going to show you are, so when you see like a line halfway, and it's like halfway in the circle, and it's R, I'm going to use R because R, that means when the line goes halfway, that's going to be the radius of the circle. And then the other thing you're going to see, if the line goes all the way through, I'll put that's line P, or excuse me, D. That's going to be the diameter. So one thing to keep in mind, you can see the radius is half of the circle and the diameter goes all the way through. So when we're doing these problems, if you know what the radius is, so for example, if we say the radius here is 4, that's half of the diameter. So the diameter would be 8. So what you want to know is the radius is always half of the diameter. So if we know the radius is 4 and this one right here, the diameter is going to be 8 because it's halfway through the circle. And the same thing, if all you have is a diameter, you're going to know that the radius is half of that. So in this case, if I didn't tell you this one was 4, but we knew this line here was 8, we would know the radius is half that, so the radius would be 4. So sometimes when you're using these formulas, you're either going to get the diameter or the radius. Okay, the radius goes halfway, diameter goes all the way through. Okay, so if you get a radius of whatever, so if we do another circle here and say the radius on this one is 6, the diameter is just going to be double that. It's going to be, if we went all the way through, it's 12. Okay, and same thing right here. If we know this whole line here, if this is like line, we'll say F, that's the diameter. If we know this is 10, we're going to know the radius is half of that. So halfway would be 5. Okay. So remember, the diameter goes all the way through and the radius only goes halfway through. So if we go back up to these formulas here, you can see the diameter is twice of the radius. Okay. So if you basically get a radius of 6, what you're going to do is just if the radius here on this point, we'll say A, we're going to know the radius is 6. And if we do the formula up here, for diameter, it's just 2 times radius. So for this one, diameter equals 2 times the radius. So we know the radius is 6, so we're just going to do diameter equals 2 times 6. So for this one, the diameter is going to be 12. Okay, so you're just doubling the radius, or 2 times the radius. And we'll do another one here. So for this one, diameter 2 times r. So for this one, if the radius is 7, all we're going to do is diameter equals 2 times 7. So the diameter would be 14. Okay, so it's pretty simple formula. It's just 2 times the radius will give you the diameter. Okay, we'll do one more just to make sure everyone gets this. So if this one, the radius on this one is 10, we'll call it F. So the diameter is going to be 2 times the radius. In this case, it's 10. So the diameter is going to equal 20. Okay. Now let's go to this other formula. And I want to, sometimes you guys maybe see this. I want to make it a different color here. That symbol there, it looks like kind of, there's a squiggly line with 2 lines underneath it. That's pi. What pi is a formula we use in math, and like I said, it equals 3.14. But a lot of times if you're using a calculator, you can just hit the pi button on the calculator and it'll tell you, it'll do the calculation for you, so you don't have to do it yourself. But for the area formula, it's pi times radius squared. So let's go down and do one of those. So area equals the pi times radius squared. So in this circle, let's say the radius is 6. We'll say that's line A. So you know the radius is 6. So what we're going to do is we're going to square the radius. So 6 squared is 36. And then all we're going to do is multiply 3.14 times 36. And that's going to be approximately 118 and something. I don't have a calculator in front of me. But when you find the area, you're just going to, hopefully you have a calculator. You just hit that pi button, and then you would multiply the pi times the radius squared. And we know the radius in this one is 6, because it says it right here. So it would be pi 3.14 times the radius square, and the radius square is 6, so it's going to be 36. So we'll do another one here. So remember, area equals pi, that number, times radius square. So in this one, we'll say the radius is 8. So the radius F is 8. So what we would do, the first thing we do, we square 8. So it's going to be 8 square. And that just means 8 times 8 is going to be 64. And then you multiply the 3.14 times the 64. But hopefully on your calculator, the ones we use in class, and when you're taking the test, there's going to be a pi button on there. And that just multiplies the function of pi times whatever the radius squared is. But one thing I want to show you, don't freak out if you get to a test and it's asking you area. And we know area is pi r square. But say, for example, what it does, it gives you the diameter. And say the diameter, we'll say this diameter is D, is 12. But remember, if we go back up to here, we know the radius is half of the diameter. So if it only gives you the diameter, it's okay, because we know that D, the diameter, radius is half of that. So in this case, half would be 6. So then you're just going to realize, okay, they gave me the diameter, which is fine, that's 12, but I know the radius is half of the diameter. So in this case, it's going to be 6. So we just plug in the formula. We're going to do the radius square. And we know the radius is going to be 6. This is going to be 36. And then we just do the 3.14 times the 36. Okay. So whenever you're doing an area of a circle and it gives you either the diameter or the radius, that's all the information you need. because sometimes I'm going to give you the diameter and you're going to like, well, where's the R? But we know that diameter, if we went back up here, I think at the top I told you that diameter is half of the radius. So radius is 1/2 of the diameter. So I remember up here I said on this line 10, so half of it would be 5. We just cut the diameter in half to find the radius. So I think on some of those practice questions, they gave you the diameter. I'm looking at one right now and I'll show you. So I think on the second one, it gave you, we did a circle and it said like S was up here, circle would be P, and it had R down here. So it said SR, which is the diameter, was 26 inches. But we're going to know that the diameter is 26 inches. The radius would be half of that. So the radius would be, so this line was 26 inches SR, but we know half of that's going to be the radius. So half of 26 is going to be 13. So if it asks you to do the area formula, which would be pi r squared, you're going to multiply the radius 13 times 13, which is 13 square. And then that's going to be 139. And then you're just going to multiply pi, which is 3.14. And I would encourage you guys to get a calculator. So it's just 3.14 times 139. But when you guys have the calculator, it's going to basically put the pi 3.14 in for you. Okay. So just remember that whenever you get a circle, if this point is C, okay, and then you see A here, so AC is going to be the radius. And then if we go all the way up top to, we'll say this is F, AF is going to be the diameter. Because this AF goes all the way, so that's the diameter, and the radius is just going to be half of that. See if I can get a different color here. Oops, I'm sorry. So the half of this, if I said this is AF equals 20, the radius is going to be half of that. So the radius is going to be, so AC is going to be 10. It's just half of the diameter. So just remember, it's pretty easy. Diameter is the whole thing and radius is half of it. Okay, that's all I have for today, you guys. We will do a little bit more of this moving forward. So I will post some more practice. And if some of you, you might just be able to go back and do the stuff that we already posted, because I know we hadn't gone over this. So now if you go back and look at some of those worksheets, maybe it makes a little more sense. All right, you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.